Brewe was founded in 1986, and we operated on the same principles today as we did then, and that is to make full-flavored ales and lagers from only all-natural ingredients. The brewing process starts with procurement of raw materials. In Abita, we use nothing but 100% artesian well water from the Abita Springs area. We have our own wells, and we bring it into the process without altering it at all. And our water tends to be real soft. It's perfect for brewing the type of beers that we make. Our water source is basically an underground aquifer or river that comes from the Appalachian Mountains and works itself down here. And from what we're tapping right now, they say it's 2 million years old. So it's prehistoric. It's before any industrial revolution or any man-made pollutants. And there's some new research coming out that it's one of the only water sources in the world that is free of certain types of radioactivity. In olden times, people were the type of beer that they made was dictated by the type of water source they had. And you know, in Pilsen, it was famous for producing the first Pilsner beers, and it was a very nice, smooth beer with some nice bitterness to it. Well, our beer tends to be soft and really great for the styles of beer that we make. But what's really impressive is we're one of the only breweries in the world that we don't have to treat our water. Barley is kind of like the backbone to beer, and we use all kind of different varieties of it, but most of it comes from England. We think that they produce the best malt in the world, so that's where we get it. What happens before we get the malted barley is it's harvested in the fields in England, and they take that and they malt it. We also use hops from mainly from the Pacific Northwest. We also use them from England and from Germany. And hops are a cone-like flour. Hops add aroma and flavor and bitterness to a beer. And you can smell, this is a nice flavoring aroma hop. And yeast, we selected the strains from Germany, alt yeast. So we use malted barley, hops, water, and yeast, and that's it. Except for when we make our Purple Haze beer, we have raspberry puree from Oregon that we add, and we add Louisiana strawberries to our strawberry lager. And new to this year, we will add pecans to our pecan harvest ale. Abita was founded, as I mentioned, in 1986, and by two home brewers, and they were passionate about beer. We've attracted people with that passion. We like bringing flavor, the flavor of Louisiana to the rest of the world. And what does that mean? You know, anybody can say that, but you know, to us it means we're going to be full of flavor, and we're going to be nothing but highest quality ingredients. And you'll find that the people that work for Abita are very passionate about what they do, and it's hard to shut us up about it. We tend to ramble on about it because it's just part of who we are. Please follow me. This is our brew house area, and it's both a brew house and a cellar for us. And we start the process up here on the platform in our brew house, and please watch your step as you come up. Well, the process starts when we mill the malted barley, and then we mix it with water, and this is called a mash. And the idea here is to activate the natural enzymes in the malted barley with hot water, and those enzymes convert the starch into sugars. And this process takes about 90 minutes. After the mash is done converting, we transfer it over to a lauter tun. The idea of the lauter tun is to gently extract the sugars from the grain bed. And you have to do it gently because there's some proteins that you don't want in the beer, but mainly there's some tannins in the barley husks that bring great flavor and color to the beer, but they can bring some astringentness to the beer. So we want to be very careful in how we handle it. The next step in the process would be boiling. In the boil, the idea is you boil to coagulate proteins and to extract bitterness from the hops that you add during the process. After the boil is done, we whirlpool it, which is basically spinning the beer, and that force creates all the solids in the middle, and we pull off the side from that clear wort or unfermented beer. We cool it through a heat exchanger to bring it down to fermentation temperatures, and we add yeast on the way to a fermentation vessel. You come down from the platform, I'll show you that process. After the boiling, we cool it down through our heat exchangers, and we add yeast on the way to one of these fermentation vessels. And depending on the type of yeast we use and the density, color, and flavor of the beer, we have different regimes of fermentation and aging in our cellar. What happens in fermentation is the yeast cannibalizes the sugars that we made in the brew house and creates CO2 and alcohol. So when it gets a certain point in fermentation where there's a certain extract or amount of sugar left over, we'll shut the tanks in and build up natural carbonation in them. Each one of our tanks has an inner tank, a glycol jacketing, and then it has insulation and an outer cladding. So we're able to pump glycol through the outer shells of these tanks to maintain whatever temperature that we set in the computer. We have the cone, the lower jacket, and the higher jacket. And depending on what we're trying to do, whether we're trying to promote yeast growth or we're trying to promote a natural mixing inside the tank or settling, we can use those different jackets at different times. And we also set the temperature point for where we want it in that part of the process. And as you know, in South Louisiana, it's very hot, so for us it's very important to have a large refrigeration capacity.
Static Rocks with the best local and international independent music videos. Static Rocks. Tuesdays at 10, only on Cox 10. Can killing time damage eternity? Maybe you have a question that conventional science cannot answer.
There is no puzzling question that I, Morgus, cannot answer.
Email your question to Dr. Morgus, and he'll answer it during Morgus Presents. Plus, you'll receive a Morgus t-shirt and the admiration of your fellow scientists. Send your question with your name and address to morgus@cox.com and watch Morgus Presents, Friday nights at 10:30 and Sunday nights at 8:30 on Cox 10.
What you doing, hon?
I'm just sending a photo of the trophy from the seniors competition.
Forget the photo. Send him the whole video.
You think?
Yeah.
Grandma?
With crazy fast Cox high-speed internet, it's easy to share all your special memories.
Go, Granny. Go, Granny.
This ain't your night. My night! I could have taken Wilson apart. So what happens? He gets the shot at the title in the ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville! I could have been a contender.
Please follow me to our filtration area, and from there we'll check out kegging and bottling. after the beer's been properly fermented and aged, we filter it. And our filtration process begins by transferring the beer to our centrifuge. And a centrifuge is used to spin the beer at a centrifugal force and basically removes the yeast and some proteins from the clear beer. And from there, we go through a plate and frame filter, and we go through about a 1.5 micron down to, on the second pass, to a 0.5 micron. And the idea there is to remove any of the yeast and proteins that cause hazing. And then from there, we transfer it into a bright beer tank, which is a vessel that sits to be either racked into a keg or in bottles. And if you follow me, I'll show you our keg launch. In this area, we do our kegging. We take empty kegs in, and we bring them through an external washer. Then they come around and go through our internal washer and the filling station. This consists of a pressure check, a hot water rinse, a hot caustic rinse, another water rinse, a hot acid rinse, a water rinse, steam, CO2, and then we fill it with beer. And the whole process is automated, and it does a very good job of making a consistent product. We started out with 2 employees, producing 2,500 barrels in the first year. Right now, we're 40 employees producing 75,000 barrels, just 21 years later. And we try to be a part of the culture here. And it's easy to say that. What does that really mean? Well, one, we have nothing but local Louisiana people employed here who have grown up and raised and know about our culture and our food and our social behaviors and you know, crawfish balls and crab balls and jazz and great music and food. And we try to be a part of that. And in fact, a lot of our beers are tailored to that cuisine. And we try to bring a full-flavored lager like Amber, which is our first beer produced, to be just rich in color and flavor. And it really goes so well with a lot of Louisiana Creole dishes and Cajun dishes. And we feel that each one of our brands is great with certain types of food from the city. Next stop is our bottle line. Bottles are brought in on the line, and they go through a rotary rinser where they rinse out with sterile water. Then they come onto the filler, and the bottle is purged 2 times with CO2 to remove as much oxygen as possible. Then it's counter pressure filled, capped. It goes through a pasteurizer, a labeler, and then we wrap it in 6 packs, and it's out the door. We're just trying to stay ahead of the growth curve and with equipment and people. And you know, right now we're staffing up to 40, and we're staffing up to where we think we'll need to be in 2 or 3 years. And the same thing with equipment. We like to be ahead of the game with all those, and that has to do with quality. You have to put a quality, consistent product out there, and we don't want to be taxed from not having enough manpower or enough equipment. And we won't be faced with those challenges because inevitably product will suffer. I am Abita, and Abita is a part of me, and that goes for every other employee here. Our roots are here, and we're going to be here. You're not going to see Abita being produced anywhere else. The water here is that important to us, as is being a part of this culture, because we are Louisianans, born and raised.